I'm Denise.
She's a non-fiction editor. And I'm Louise.
She's a fiction editor. And together,
we're the Editing Podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to the Editing Podcast.
Yes, hello. It's great to be back, not least because we have news, don't we, Denise?
Oh, yes, we certainly do. So we are absolutely thrilled to tell you that we've been plotting and planning and planning and plotting. And, well, probably the best way of summarising what's happened is to say that we are upping our game.
We are indeed. So going into our third year of production, we've had a good think about how to keep delivering relevant, interesting episodes for you. And after several brainstorming and planning sessions, we've decided to shift our broadcasting schedule from 2 seasons a year to a new episode every 2 weeks throughout the year. No long breaks anymore.
Yes, and the time is absolutely right for our new adventure. We've been looking at our stats, and frankly, we're just blown away by the engagement with the podcast. Since launching in January 2019, episodes of the Editing Podcast have been downloaded over 100,000 times, and that's by 27,500 unique listeners in 136 countries.
Tell you what, Denise, that still completely blows my mind.
Me too, yeah.
So we want to tell you a little bit more about what to expect going forward. Those of you who are regular listeners know that we love to explore both editing practice and how to run a successful editing or proofreading business.
Yeah, so you might find us discussing the finer details of punctuation, the language of publishing or point of view in fiction, but equally, we might take a deep dive into the factors influencing what editing costs, or how to develop a business strategy, or different marketing techniques that editors can use.
And that focus on editorial practice and business growth is going to continue. And as before, you won't just hear our voices. A big part of why we love doing the podcast is because we get to invite guests on the show to talk about so many other aspects of writing and editing.
And that's because while we may have 40 years of publishing experience between us, there are still plenty of areas of editing, language, and writing practice that we're not familiar with. And so asking experts to join us is a great way of sharing their knowledge and their skills with you.
Too right. So previous guest topics have included editing romance and erotica, authenticity reading, story creation, and understanding constructed languages or conlangs.
And we've also benefited from hearing from writers on their experiences of being edited. But what about future topics and guests? Well, in 2022, we'll be covering sprucing up your editing business, some guidance on editorial websites, and a chat with our first guest speaker on microaggressions in language. That's with our friend, Crystal Shelley.
I can't wait to have Crystal back on. I always learn a ton from her.
Oh, yeah, me too. Me too.
Now, as you can imagine, creating a podcast every 2 weeks all year round takes time and brain power, which is where our other little bit of news comes in. We're so grateful for all the kind messages of support we've received over the years, including some that asked us if we had a Patreon page so listeners could buy us a cup of tea or coffee as a thank you.
And so that's what we've decided to do. You can find us on patreon.com/editing podcast, and there are 2 tiers. So maybe you'd like to buy us a pot of tea to help fuel us during our writing and recording process.
Which would be amazing because we drink gallons of the stuff.
We do, yeah.
The other option costs just a few quid more, but comes with a big extra. So for those of you who'd like to meet and chat with us live, we'll be hosting quarterly tea parties.
That's right, tea parties. So every 3 months, you'll receive an exclusive invitation to join us live on Zoom for an hour's conversation on specific topics related to editing and running an editorial business.
Yes, so you can ask questions and get guidance on how to solve your editorial business problems, or you can just sit back and relax and soak up the chat. Just bring your own tea.
Yes, you do have to bring your own hot drinks. So that's it for this episode. We hope you've enjoyed it and that you'll think about joining our Patreon community. We'd love to have you there.
We would. Thanks so much for listening. You can rate, review and subscribe to us via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whichever platform you prefer. For now, she's been Denise.
And she's been Louise. Join us again soon.
Bye.
Bye.